Bahraini people have once again held anti-regime protests in several parts of the country to denounce the recent death sentences that were handed down to 3 protesters. Demonstrators rallied through the capital Manama and the villages of Dair and Duraz against the court ruling. They also renewed calls for the release of detained opposition leader Sheikh Ali Salman. Now, just last month, Bahrain's Supreme Criminal Court convicted 3 Shia protesters of killing 3 policemen near Manama last March. 7 others were also sentenced to life in prison over the same charge. The ruling Al Khalifa regime has been brutally suppressing pro-democracy protests since the popular uprising began there 4 years ago. Now we're joined out of Manama by Mr. Nabil Rajab, president of the Bahrain Center for Human Rights. Now, Mr. Najab, why don't protesters feel that these 3 individuals, the 3 young men that were sentenced to death and the other 7 that were sentenced to life in prison, received a fair trial?
Well, there is widely believed that all the people who were charged by the Bahraini court were received unfair trial. And as you know, all the international human rights organizations and many countries, including United States government, they know, and it comes always in their report, that the judiciary system in Bahrain is not an independent, and it's dominated by a ruling family. And those people were not brought before a court that respect the human right or respect the human rights standard or international standard for fair trial. So for that reason, all of us strongly believe that this trial was not fair, and those people were victims, especially because Bahrain government want to satisfy the Emiratis, whom their police was killed in Bahrain. They have to do anything as fast as possible, so they have arrested 3 or few activists on those villages, activists in the protest, and accused them of killing that Emirati police. But we believe they did not do it. And we believe majority of the people who are in jail are being innocent, and they were brought before court just because of their peaceful activism calling for democracy and human rights. So now one of the men who were accused have released a video which has been seen so far by more than 100,000 people, saying that how they were tortured and how the process of the interrogation were, and how they were a victim of the judicial and police system in Bahrain. So that's why I think this protest is going to continue and is not going to stop. And especially when you are in a country does not have an independent judicial system, because judicial system is the last place to seek justice when you receive repression. But when this body is not independent, that leaves people hopeless. And this is what's happening to a lot of Bahrainis now.
And Mr. Rajab, what other human rights violations, other than this court case that's proceeding right now, can you document that's taking place in Bahrain right now?
There are thousands of violations happening here on a weekly basis. That more than our capacity as a human rights group to document. There are a lot of violations, thousands of political prisoners, thousands of people being tortured, hundreds of people tortured on a weekly basis, hundreds of arrests on a monthly basis in Bahrain. So we expect more than 4,000 political prisoners. The world, repression against the majority Shia on all levels in their work, almost sectarian cleansing towards the Shia, who are the majority of the movement, and their work, and very difficulties in education, targeting them in education, targeting them in their work, targeting them in their life, many things, torturing systematically, targeting them, using the judiciary as a tool to suppress nation. More people are being tortured than killed, excessive use of force against a protester. A lot of children should be in school, but they are in jail now. And many of those kids are very good in their school. They are very high standard in their education, but unfortunately they've been in jail. We have hundreds of kids in jail. So you just name it, all kind of violation you have heard around the world does exist in Bahrain.
And Mr. Rajab,
it is the worst situation. Go ahead.
Right, and I mean, as the president of the Bahraini Center for Human Rights, which of Bahrain's prominent allies would you like to see come out of the shadows of silence and voice some kind of opposition to the Al Khalifa regime to try to take it easy on the Bahraini protesters and on the Bahraini majority, I should say, of the Shias to give them more human rights?
Well, first of all, there are slight positive movement, like on Human Rights Council. For the first time, we have seen many European foreign ministers speaking up about Bahraini human rights record. And this is for the first time, because historically we used to have in the level of ambassadors only talking about Bahrain, but now in the level of foreign minister, we have more and more awareness coming to the European country. But still we have a problem with the UK government, who does a lot of PR for Bahrain and who does give the coverage for all this violation happening in Bahrain. But I'm optimistic because we have a lot of good relation with the parliamentarian, with the House of Lords, with the human rights organization, with civil society in UK, who does believe in our struggle for democracy, with journalists, newspaper. So I think we are in a process of changing that. Creating more awareness among the UK public to change that policy of their government. And I'm always optimistic that change will come. We have to continue our struggle to be more determined, and I think I'm confident we're going to change that.
Thank you, Mr. Rajab, for your input there, sir. That was Mr. Nabil Rajab, president of the Bahrain Center for Human Rights, joining us out of Manama.